Welcome to another Christmas tutorial. If you want a little helper, grab the sketch on my Patreon, but I encourage you to draw your very own sketch. A sketching tutorial is on my Patreon. I'm drawing on 9x9 canvas, more details also on my Patreon. Let's get started. Lower the sketch opacity, create a new layer beneath the sketch. Select the red color and the haired airbrush. Draw the outline and fill the shape. Fix with an eraser or use the magic wand liquify and push option. In a new layer above, draw the top. Hold your pen on the screen to get more precise shape. Fix with an eraser if needed. Create a new layer at the bottom and draw the top behind the main shape and maybe another part, another top if you want. Select the black color and draw the bottom part. Create a new layer above the main shape beta and tap on the clipping mask. Tap on the N and select the multiply option. Select dark red color and medium airbrush. Draw the shade under the top and on the side. Turn off the sketch. Tap on the smudge tool and select white charcoal. Smudge the shade. Lower the opacity. Create a new layer above the top and tap on the clipping mask. Using white color and a noise brush, draw some highlights. Now you can recognize the second top better. Use different brush sizes. It should be a smooth metal surface with many light reflections. In another layer, draw one more round. It's better to use more layers so you can manage all brush strokes or adjustments much easier. Try to select and add option for extra shine and lower the opacity. In a new layer below the highlight, using a dark color, draw a shade. Also on the side, smudge it slightly. Create a new layer above the main shape for the one more round of shade. Now use the black color. Smudge it slightly. Create a new layer for highlight, use a bright color. Smudge it. This is just the base round of the highlights, one more we will draw later. Turn on the sketch and create a new layer. Draw the hole using the black color. Create a new layer and indicate the door. Back to the hole. Erase the edges gently. There should be a visible thickness of the material. It isn't flat like paper. In a new layer, using a white color, draw highlights on the edges of the hole. Also on the edges of the door. Maybe lower the opacity of this black line. Create a new layer and make one more round of the gentle highlights over the main shape and on the edges. Try to add some details, for example, a screw. Create a new layer, select the gray color and hard airbrush. Draw the screw. Play with the shape and angle. Create a new layer above. Tap on the clipping mask. Select a bright color and draw the highlights on the edges. Lower the opacity. In a new layer, draw those middle lines like a real screw has. Also with the black color. This is just a tiny detail, but if you pay attention to those things, you can level up your drawing. It can be simple, but still full of details. Draw a shade behind the screw in a layer below. Now create a new layer on the second top and tap on the clipping mask. Draw a highlight. And also a bit of shade behind the main shape. Match the color, hold your finger on the screen to get the right one. Select a bright color and draw highlights also on the bottom part. Smudge it. Now I like the tiny ball top on some old mailboxes. If you too, draw it in a new layer and try to draw shades and highlights as we did before. Last final round of the overall highlight. Create a new layer on the top. Draw spots over the entire mailbox. Add a lot of reflections. Tap on the magic wand and the Gaussian blur. Draw your pen to the right to blur the highlights slightly. Select the Add Shiny option and lower the opacity. Now the bunny. Turn on the sketch. Create a new layer below the sketch. Select soft gray or brown color and medium airbrush. Draw the head, ear and body, just very rough. Then, using my full brush number 5, fluff the edges. Switch to the white charcoal and draw the tail. And draw again with my full brush. Create a new layer below, select orange or pink color and medium airbrush. Fill the ear. Create a new layer above the bunny, select red color and dry ink. Draw the sweater. Now sleeve in a new layer. Back to the bunny layer, draw the paw, match the colors. Create a new layer above the bunny, tap on the clipping mask and select a brighter color. Using white charcoal, draw brighter cheeks. and maybe also the belly and tail. Switch to my fur brush 5 and draw some fur here. Create a new layer above, tap on the clipping mask. Using a darker color and medium airbrush, draw the shape. Smudge it slightly. Create a new layer above the ear and draw the shade also here. Smudge it slightly and add a touch with the brighter color. Create a new layer below the ear and draw the second ear. Fluff the edges with my fur brush. Maybe also here behind the first ear. Switch to the dry ink and draw the second path. Create a new layer above, select the blue color and draw the letter. Create another layer above and using dark blue, draw those lines. And maybe write Santa here. Tap on the layer below the letter and draw the second paw here. And also in the layer above the letter. Now create a new layer above the bunny layers and select pink color. Draw a tiny nose. Now using the black color, draw the eye. Maybe also a white dot here. Turn the sketch on and off as you need. Draw the nostrils and the smile. Smudge it gently and fix with an eraser if needed. In a shade layer below, draw the shade behind the eye. Smudge it and fix with an eraser. Keep just a hint. With a darker color and my full brush, draw the eyebrow. Create a new layer above the bunny layers and draw fur all around. Use also different tones. Also add some details with a dark color. Now create a new layer above the sweater. Tap on the clipping mask. Select a dark color and medium airbrush. Draw the shade. Soften it with an eraser. And draw also on the other side using a brighter color. With a noise brush, draw a few black fold lines here. Create a new layer above the sleeve and draw some details also here. And some highlights too. Create a new layer below the sweater shade layer and select the dry ink. Using a brighter color, draw a pattern, maybe just a few lines. Also on the sleeve. And using dark color medium and brush, draw a shade on the sleeve. Draw the shade on the second paw. Maybe also between the ear. And also in a new layer under the letter. And in a new layer on the letter, behind the puff. Now create a new layer on the very bottom and draw a rough big shade. Fix it with an eraser. One more shade in a new layer, now stronger and very close to the mailbox and bunny. Fix it with an eraser. Maybe draw the shade a bit bigger. Look at your bunny and think about what you can make better or fix. Focus on details. For example, the sleeve behind the puff. Be sure you work in the right layer on the new layer. Or the brim on the sweater around the bunny. Maybe some fur over the sweater. Or even some pom-pom as a decoration. Well done, share your bunny and tag me so I can see it. Or put it into our Christmas chat. See you next time!